What's good, guys? So I'm back with a video that you have been asking for. This video will cover my personal top 10 Gear 13 characters. This video won't necessarily be in order because the order which you would do these would depend entirely on what you could use now and get most use of immediately. Every roster's different, so every person's first Gear 13 or third Gear 13 is going to depend entirely on what they have available. But in general, as long as they're well modded, you should be able to get some great use out of them. Speaking of mods, this video is being brought to you by Pimpo, your one-stop SWGOH mod service by the mod father himself. If you're one of the many players who doesn't understand mods or doesn't have the time or interest to sort them out, Pimpo can do it for you. He offers a full inventory cleanup and will level them and sort out your farming goals going forward. He'll sort out your loadouts for whatever game modes you want and give you a big boost in your Grand Arena and Territory War performances. So with that said, let's do this! Okay, it wouldn't be a real top 10 list if we didn't include General Grievous on here, really, would it? I mean, clearly the absolute best Gear 13 character as long as you can actually get use out of him. Single Gear 13, he's able to take out full Gear 13 Sith Empire teams, and that in itself is absolutely astounding. Several team comps that he can be used in. Taking him to Gear 13 also kind of breaks most of the old counters. I mean, I used to beat him all the time with Commander Luke Skywalker. Since the Gear 13 ones are around, it doesn't seem to work quite as effectively. I've actually lost just as much as I've won. And I have no plans to take my rebels any further to actually counter it anytime soon. So it really helps shut down a lot of the things that we used to use to beat him very, very easily. Of course, there's still teams that can beat him, but in general, this is just such an excellent Gear 13 choice, especially when you factor in Geonosis TB. If you go ahead and combine your Gear 13 Grievous with T3 M4, especially if he has his Zeta, that is, then it's even more crazy. You're almost guaranteed 200k plus AoE attacks, and that's what can survive that? Pretty much nothing survives it. Even the Gear 13 old Daka strategy to sweat through a General Grievous team doesn't work when he's able to hit you that hard because T3's in the team. So it's very, very hard to look past this. This was actually my first Gear 13 as well. I've since built the rest of the team up around him, and he's probably my best Grand Arena team when it comes to holding on defenses because he catches people by surprise. They go in with a strategy, AoE, and suddenly they're two characters down. So yeah, that he has to be easily the number one choice for me. Another character you just cannot look past at any point in this game has got to be General Kenobi. I mean, the guy has multiple team use. You can stick him with the Resistance, with the Republic, with the Jedi. It's just a standalone tank that you need in any other team. And then you factor in he's also now a fleet commander, and light side Geonosis territory battles is coming. How can you look past him? He's still every bit as fantastic as he was when he released. He's one of the characters in this game that is just not seemingly devaluing. A lot of characters have, because so many other counters come out, but Kenobi always seems to find a way to pop his head up with his classic hello there and have some sort of use. So I find it very, very hard to believe at Gear 13 he won't continue to be one of the top ones. He gets such a big armor and health boost that he's easily going to factor in still once again as one of those pesky characters that you just always have to deal with to get to your primary target. Next up, and actually the next one on my personal list, is old Daka. She's getting some huge health gains with this and becomes incredibly hard to kill, particularly with her Zeta, which now regains some of its former value. Because she's so difficult to kill now, a lot of the time other members of the Nightsisters get killed first by the AI, particularly by AoE attacks, and as a result of this, Daka brings them back, gains huge health stacks as well, and becomes even more difficult to kill than she was previously. Gear 13 Daka is definitely making life a lot harder for the Imperial Trooper teams because not many people are taking them to Gear 13 right now, and it also makes life very, very miserable for the General Grievous squads if they don't have T3 there. On top of the big health gain, she's also gaining a lot of potency for more stuns and a lot more tenacity so you can actually ability block her and shut her down. With Nightsisters being a very common team who all get really big boosts at Gear 13, I expect this will be one of the more common Gear 13s we see early on. Another excellent early Gear 13 has got to be Han Solo. A big damage boost, more ship benefit, as well as a huge potency boost to really guarantee that TM reduction. It's definitely worth noting that with his Gear 13, he's gaining a lot more potency. As a result, if you're running any of the Rebel strategies where you purposely shoot someone with high tenacity so that they resist you and you gain more turn meter on your Rebel team, it's probably not going to work when you take Gear 13. So you need to weigh up what's more important out of the strategy or the bigger damage boost that you're going to get from Han. One of the best things with Han Solo's Gear 13 is if you also take Chewie to Gear 13, the Millennium Falcon mirror matches become ridiculously easy regardless of what strategy you're using. The ship just does so much damage. So if you like the sound of any of that, Han's your guy. It wouldn't be a DB list if there wasn't any more Nightsisters on it, right? You all know I love my Nightsisters. They're the reason that I even became relevant in my shard in the first place. And Nightsister Zombie is my next recommendation. More speed, more health, more performance. That is Nightsister Zombie in a nutshell. That's all that matters, and that's all you're going to get from her Gear 13. Because the more turns she gets, the more taunts she gets. So the more speed she has, the better. And when we add her alongside the Gear 13 Daka that I recommended earlier, you just have a much more troublesome team for any of the counters to actually deal with. If you're a Nightsister fan, I really do think that these are the two that you have to look at to take to Gear 13 first. Now I know what you're thinking, we're halfway through this list and there's still no Sith Empire even been showcased. Wow, here we go. Bastard of Fallen is actually my first recommendation if you're running a Sith Empire team. This is because of the speed boost that she's going to receive. And as we know, the quicker your Bastila, the better. If yours gets off before theirs, suddenly they can't debuff you due to corrupted battle meditation. Furthermore, pretty much all of the strategies that counter the Sith Empire in a anti-meta way revolve around getting your character off before the enemy Bastila. So if we can make our Bastila faster, it just makes life harder for everybody else. It's also worth throwing a little bit of light on the fact she gets 10% health steal, so if they fail to kill her early to weaken the team, they're going to have a harder job when she starts healing herself. Sticking with the meta, next up, HK47. I think he's a fantastic Gear 13. He gets so much more potency, armor penetration, and just a big boost in damage. And as a result, his grenade tends to be 10 times more devastating than it was previously, especially if you're trying to run Jedi against them. I've run into it myself. I'm running my Jedi, everything's going great. I need maybe 1 or 2 more hits, and then it's kind of, beyond the capability of the Sith to actually make a comeback. And then suddenly the grenade comes out of nowhere, boom, it explodes, it does more damage than I was expecting, and then they start picking off my team, and it's too late for me to make a comeback. I find it's HK that disrupts my team more than anybody, along with Malik in second place. Speaking of Malik, he's in the list as well. This is the final Sith Empire recommendation because I really don't see a great deal of benefit from Darth Revan's outside of a little bit of speed boost. It seems to be the rest of the team that become more of a problem at Gear 13, and Malik really becomes a problem at Gear 13. His huge health gains become a problem for pretty much anybody not called General Grievous. And when you add in the fact that he can one-shot Yoda mid-perfect run, just like in my last Grand Arena Championship, it really becomes quite annoying and is evidently an excellent Gear 13 choice. He can still definitely be beaten, it just tends to require a little bit more RNG on your part. My Jedi Thrawn team has really taken a hit in terms of its success rate ever since all the Gear 13 Maliks popped up, and this is because Malik keeps killing Yoda now. So yeah, if you have Malik, get him to Gear 13, absolutely no question. Back to Rebels now. Time for Commander Luke Skywalker at Gear 13. He gets a huge potency boost, so the days of having a speed and potency set to actually get more use out of his debuffs and TM reduction are gone. We can go back to all the crit sets, not even care about that potency because he's gaining such a big amount from his Gear 13 piece. I've witnessed many of these Gear 13 characters absolutely run through their shard now. They're able to easily eat up the Jedi teams as well as the Darth Revan teams that don't have Malik. This has really brought the Rebels back into use, and I'm quite happy to see this because it's been a while since they really were relevant. Luke is also much like General Kenobi in the fact that he's a multi-use character, sort of a Swiss Army knife for this game. You can use him in raids, you can use him in several teams as just a plug and play character. He's pretty much dominant everywhere except fleet, because that's only because he doesn't have a ship yet. I'm sure he'll end up with a ship at some point and be every bit as dominant there as well. So if you like your Rebels, you have a decent Rebel team, you really should look at Commander Luke Skywalker for Gear 13. And my final suggestion, R2 D2, and there's only one place to look for my reasoning: number crunch. When you have that Zeta, you gain so many extra bonuses across your whole team if R2 is in the squad. By going to Gear 13 with R2, you're gaining boosts across all of his stats. and as a result, you're passing your protection, health, potency, and offense to any Republic, Resistance, Rebel, and Droid team allies. So even though R2's only really gaining a sort of mid-level boost, as a result your entire team is gaining benefit from this Gear 13, and that just seems to be incredibly valuable to me. It's a good way to make one Gear 13 useful across an entire team. R2 is one of those characters that we all pretty much use, right? I mean, I'm not the biggest Rebel fan myself, but I still use R2 every Grand Arena. I use him in most of the raids. I use him pretty much everywhere these days. He used to be in my arena team too. So having this boost means that whatever team I'm using in Grand Arena is going to be stronger right across the board and harder to kill. So Gear 13 R2 just definitely seems to be something that's worth looking at for pretty much everybody. So that's it for this video, guys, and thank you for watching. There were a couple of other characters I did want to touch on. There was the Geonosians, and as good as some of their boosts are, I don't think they're a great early investment in Gear 13. You don't need them Gear 13 for their special missions in Geonosis TB. And when you factor in that they're just very, very beatable by underpowered teams like Traya, Scion, and Nihilus, you can just stick those three in and you can beat Gear 13 squads. And that just doesn't strike me as a great early investment. There's also someone like Holdo. She gets a really big boost as well from a Gear 13 piece, but she's so slow that you don't even use it. It's just like when she was Gear 12. You've got a great character, you've got a nice kit, but what does it matter if she only takes 1 or 2 turns at absolute most? You know, it just doesn't seem worth the investment. I touched on Darth Revan as well. I know I'm pretty sure he's actually the most Gear 13 character in the game, and I don't think that's a particularly great idea. I don't think he's the best first Gear 13 in his own team, let alone in the game. He gets a good speed boost and such. The trouble is, it's the other characters for me that kind of hold the team together. It's Bastila's speed that causes all the problems once she gets corrupted battle meditation there. It's Malik that's very, very difficult to kill when he's taken to 13. And HK tends to cause huge problems with his tenacity down debuff, allowing Revan to cause all the problems with his shock. C-3PO also got quite a big boost, and he's another one of those multi-use characters that's plugged into a lot of teams. The problem is, you don't even need him Gear 12 for any of those teams to work, so I don't really see a great deal of value taking him to 13 either. Feel free to leave a comment below with your top 10 or just the Gear 13s that you've opted to upgrade. Please give the video the old thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoy my content. And until next time, guys, we out here.